Greetings. Welcome to NASCAR America Debrief. Nate Ryan, Ty Dillon, Marty Snyder, Dale Jarrett. We're here on the NBC Sports Motorsports YouTube channel, taking your phone calls left over from NASCAR America Motor Mouths. Also taking your questions and comments. I'm monitoring that chat on the right side of the YouTube box that you're watching there. So put your questions, your comments in there. I'll be monitoring those as well. But let's start with the phones and go to Anthony. Welcome to NASCAR America Debrief, Anthony.
Yes, thank you for having me on, Nate. It's a real pleasure to be on Motor Mouths. So I have a question for Ty Dillon. So, Ty, you've been around the sport for a long time. Now, I grew up loving Jeff Gordon because he was my favorite. Who was yours growing up?
Yeah, Anthony. So, obviously growing up with my grandfather being Richard Childress, there was, at the beginning, there was one driver, and that was Dale Earnhardt. And that's what our weekends went off of. Wherever Dale ended up on Sunday was how the mood went for the week. And then there was a guy, Mike Skinner, who came along. And it was any driver who put on the RCR colors and went out there and raced. That was my guys for the week.
Do you remember the 98 Daytona 500?
Yes.
Do you, really remember?
I barely remember.
Okay, I was going to say, because you're a young tyke in that famous picture in Victory Lane with Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, I had my Gap sweatshirt on. I was, Austin and I were playing. Austin and I were playing at MRO, and my grandma came and got us, and we had no clue what was going on, but that was my very first Victory Lane experience, and what an experience that was. Maybe that's what triggered something in my blood to make me a racer.
How often do people ask you about that? That picture? Did they?
Not many people ask me about that picture.
They don't
I've been cut out of that picture before. My brother won the Daytona 500, and I saw that picture for about 3 weeks straight with my face cut out of it. So
come on, I'm like, no way.
I see. I've got a win to get cropped back in. So it's a cool picture.
Hey, that's a reason to win the Daytona 500 right there.
Yeah,
put back in the picture.
Yeah. Question from the YouTube comment box from John. The panel's thoughts this past weekend: Cup race, IndyCar race, Formula One race, all went virtually completely caution-free, with the exception of the stage racing cautions. So,
things like
coincident?
That are going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's racing. You can't plan these things and around that. When you get in, especially road course, you think there's going to be contact and there's going to be things, and we saw some spins, but nothing that blocked the track or made NASCAR, put a caution out at Sonoma for any reason. So you're just going to have weekends like that. You run so many races that every one of them's not going to be the beating and banging and the crashing and getting that. And it just so happened that all three forms of motorsports didn't have that type of action. There was a lot of good racing, just not that type.
Yeah, since I was at Road America, I will say I feel like the only team that didn't want a caution at that point was Alexander Rossi's team. I mean, he had a 19-second lead, and there was a big chunk of concrete on the racetrack like that.
Man.
An IndyCar race, that's not.
Dangerous.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
And they didn't throw a caution, and everybody missed it, and everything was okay. But I felt like there probably could have been a caution at that point. I know every team up and down pit road was begging for it. But, yeah, I mean, there's Rossi just wore them out at Road America. Wasn't even close.
And drivers weren't really upset about no caution because they felt like it was out of the line.
The only one that the debris you're saying?
Yeah.
The debris drivers, there were a couple drivers who complained a little bit about it, and every strategist was complaining about it, of course, other than Alexander Rossi's pit. They weren't complaining about it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but everybody was amazed at what Rossi did. I mean, it's been a long time since I think we had the stat on the air. 15 years since there was a lead that big. He won by 30 seconds.
Yeah. Wow.
It was crazy.
Incredible.
No cautions in the race, 30 seconds.
Yeah. Wow,
Gone.
that's incredible.
It was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the phones and talk to Marvin. Marvin, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Marvin Blue.
Hey, greetings, Nate. Hello, Ty. Hey, Marvin.
Hey, Marvin.
Hi, Dale.
Hey,
you look nice tonight, man.
Thank you, Marvin.
Hey, guys, I got a question for you. Ty, this is for you. Who do you think is going to win the pole on Sunday? And who do you think has a good shot at making the playoffs come November?
Who's been good at mile-and-a-half qualifying, you would say?
I'd say the Stewart-Haas cars have had some really good speed as far as qualifying the mile-and-a-halves. Larson's obviously got a couple poles here lately. But you never know. You don't know what these guys are bringing week to week. I think as we go to, Chicago, it's the first time we're coming to Chicago with this package. You don't know what there is a definite difference in approach between team to team as we go to these places for a first time. Now, when we go back next year or a second time some of these tracks, it'll be a little more defined. But there's teams that are going more downforce and less drag. They're not worried about the pole. They're worried about racing. So I think Stewart-Haas has seemed like they've been more in the direction of trying to get as much speed out of the car and then, trying to make it handle better. But they want the most raw speed. So I'd say one of those cars, they've been pretty fast as far as qualifying.
Yeah.
The
William
interesting
Byron, too.
Yeah, and that's a good
Chad
point.
Knaus
Yeah.
has found something that makes that young man go fast.
Yep.
And not a lot of practice this weekend, which I don't know if that helps or hurts your team or what you feel. Because it's a busy day on Saturday.
I think
nothing
it helps,
on Friday for the Cup Series cars.
It helps our team for the rest of the year as far as mental sanity. We're getting an extra night at home, and we'll sacrifice a little bit of practice to get an extra night at home. It's a long season. I know you guys are coming back for the first time, but we're ready for just an extra day. It doesn't hurt every once in a while.
So let me ask you this: the balance between, because you touched on it, and so we're getting ready to talk about it for 20 weeks. There are teams who are really like saying, "Hey, we're going all in for speed. We'll figure out the handling part."
Yep.
And there are teams who are saying, "We'll worry about handling. We'll figure out the speed part later." Is that correct? Is that a fair way to put it?
Absolutely. Every single race for us has been that for our team, and balancing. At the beginning of the year, we qualified really well. You just look at qualifying positions when we're trying to figure this out. Our team qualified the best we've qualified. We had some kind of up and down races. Mainly, we fell back from our qualifying position because the car just couldn't handle the grip in traffic. So the second half of the first half of the season, we've gone to more downforce and been trying to focus on racing, but you can get too much downforce where you're just slow. So there is such a fine line, and the best of both worlds is to go to the wind tunnel as much as you possibly can, get more downforce with less drag, and get that 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 that we look for in our race cars, and that just takes time and money in a wind tunnel, and that's where you start seeing the teams who were at the top from last year. As the year goes on, the more time they get to spend on this package, they're getting faster and faster.
I don't ever remember a time, DJ, help me remember, where it was this, I don't know if that's the right word, right way to put it, this easy to change downforce levels and all that. Usually that was built into the body back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And you were set with what you had when you came to the racetrack.
Yeah, and I think more of it was done then because we didn't know nearly as much about the aerodynamics and the platform of the car. So we did it with springs and shocks and sway bars and things where that's not the case. I mean, you still make those changes, but that's what we had to work with more than anything else. And as I look at these places, I think that it becomes about your preparation. There has to be a balance in there, and every driver's a little bit different as to what you want to feel. And I think the other thing that I've kind of been in watching these races, it's not that you have to take care of the cars, but it looks like because you're carrying so much speed through the center of the corner that the tires, you have to really be careful and not abuse that. You want to go fast on the restarts and make what you can, but you also want to have something to race with.
Yeah, it's strange. It seems like we're seeing more fall off due to tire temperature than to tire wear, just because there is so much grip, but we're putting so much temperature in the tires. So that's why you see sort of a collective fall off throughout the field, not really one car being able to kind of conserve his tire wear and come through the field as much as you possibly would in the past years. And I think the fact that we have so much downforce, we have a little bit that we can trade off now. With this package, there's just a ridiculous amount of downforce compared to what we've had for the past 2 or 3 years. So now we're trying to see how much we can trade off to go faster or how much we need to add on to race better.
Does that mean that being good on the long run is no longer kind of a thing like it used to be?
It doesn't feel like it. It feels like a car that's good early stays good. Now we might go to a Darlington and some of these places that it still matters.
That's a different ballgame.
Yeah, it's a different ballgame. We saw a little bit at Atlanta. Atlanta's still a tire wear game. And we go to the short tracks with more horsepower, still tire wear matters. Sonoma, I think, didn't fall off as much as we thought it would, or it has in the past. So we have a little bit of different approach when we go back next year with it.
About I know the mile and a halves are all different, but one thing that's become hugely important because you've seen some green flag pit stops in this, but getting onto pit road at Chicagoland, I always felt like that was a difficult place because you're driving so far and so fast around the corner, and then all of a sudden you've got to get slowed down.
Well, now it's everywhere because we're so close to wide open around all these corners, and the car has so much downforce you can stop it quicker. So you're pushing it even further. You're pushing it even further in a place like Chicago where it is just this awkward entrance to pit road. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tricky, and one of the biggest things we have in our debriefs every Monday is looking at our driver times on pit road. There's seconds on track, 2 to 3 seconds, from best to worst, lost on getting on pit road, getting off pit road, that in and out lap time. And the pit crews are as big as ever right now. And getting that quick pit stop can change your day.
Nate, we've hijacked your show.
No, it's okay. No,
Sorry about that.
It's fascinating to sit here and listen to. You've been a
he's-
very eloquent young man that I have next to me here. Shane from YouTube has an interesting question, something for your generation. Do you think with how sim iRacing has evolved, we will see more drivers such as William Byron in the Cup Series sooner rather than later? Actually, we have a story today on NBCSports.com/NASCAR in which Dustin Long went and followed somebody who made his debut at the summer shootout at Charlotte Motor Speedway in a race car for the first time after racing virtually for a few years. So curious your perspective on that. Is it possible to make that transition maybe now more than ever before?
I sure hope so, because I feel like the esports world and the gaming world is growing, and it's going to be one of the biggest competitors for all these real, live action sports as we go. And for NASCAR to already have taken the steps with their NASCAR heat races, which is the video game that is, each team has drafted drivers. I've actually went and played golf with both of our Germain Racing drivers. They're great guys, Kyle Allen and Jacob Kerr. Jacob's a scratch golfer himself. But these guys are talented in their own rights. And you have these iRacing guys who know a lot about the race car, and they're driving these cars hard. I mean, look at William Byron. He's doing amazing. Hopefully we see a steady flow and another entrance into our sport, which can provide bigger impacts for our sport than just the driver. There's definitely a bigger audience that we can draw because of it.
Right. Your perspective on that, DJ, is somebody who obviously didn't come through the ranks.
I don't even know.
No, I'm just curious.
No, it is. It's such a different world, and seeing that evolve and knowing that basically this is where William Byron came from. I mean, not having the experience of driving a real car, but that happening. And I think it just opens up another world of possibilities for our sport, from the fan side of it and from the participant side. So I really think it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah, interesting storyline to follow. Let's go back to the phones and talk to Kevin. Kevin, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I have a question for Dale Jarrett.
Okay.
Which NASCAR legend would succeed in today's layout?
Which NASCAR legend would succeed in today's layout? Well, gosh, I think most are going to find their way there because they're so very talented. But when I look and think about this, I mean, this is right up Dale Earnhardt's alley, and the way that the racing is, the things that you have to do, need to do, just it fits right into his world as to the way he went about his business. Wasn't afraid to push people around, didn't care what people said. And I think you have to have a really thick skin in this world out here today. And he's so talented, he's going to survive it. Whichever era of NASCAR, he was going to be successful at. But when I look at it, it is so different. And I think that's one thing. And when you look at 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson struggling a little bit with this, you really have to change your mindset and adapt to some things. And Jimmy will do that and is in the process of that. But it's so totally different. But you throw Dale Earnhardt into any car at any time, and he was going to be ready to go.
If you had to race one guy, would you want to race Earnhardt? Like, would he be top of the list?
So, absolutely. As a young guy growing up, and he was our guy, I would love to be on the track with him.
About racing your grandfather, that would have been fun.
That'd be pretty cool. I'd like to rough him up a little bit. See what the old man's got.
Cup race.
Best finish, I want to say
I bet Chris Lee's back in the studio can tell us that.
I want to say it was like Riverside, or I know his biggest payday was Talladega. Or not biggest payday, but what set his career in the right path was Talladega. But I want to say maybe a road course.
Sounds right, like Riverside or something like that.
I want to say something like that. He got his first, Ricky Rudd won there for them first. So maybe it was there.
Okay, cool.
Hey, we put the question out today on our NASCAR NBC Twitter account. Hashtag let me say this about, has stage racing changed the way people have perceived a successful race for NASCAR drivers? A lot of feedback on that, on weighing points versus going for a win. How do you feel about stages on road course races right now?
I think maybe the way they fell this weekend, maybe the length of the race because of the new added, extended carousel and everything on the track. It didn't really provide. I mean, it did provide the differences in strategies, but it didn't really provide the excitement for the end of the race. Maybe throw a third stage in there.
Right.
If we're gonna do that, make it a third stage so it kind of breaks it up again. And those guys who went to try to get the fresh tires, maybe they flip it in the end, and just try to add some dynamic to it. If we're going to a more point system, let's have some more opportunities for points. And the amount of points that we have at the end of the year, it doesn't matter. It's the storyline behind the points. And I think you want to maybe give a little bit more to the winner. We don't always want to have the winner not scoring the most points, or at least give him a bigger bonus into the chase, so that we have a little bit more of a balance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what Denny Hamlin, this team, did this past weekend.
I do
He
too.
took advantage of the system, right?
Yeah.
You got to applaud it.
Yeah.
Played the system, got the points. That's what they needed.
Yep.
Yeah, but then you had to have a really talented driver like Denny Hamlin to drive his way back up through the field in that last stage and get himself into the top 5 to make all of that work and to look like the outstanding day that it was.
By the way, Chris Lees and Chris Estrada, our crack research team, already on it. You got it wrong. You never guessed the track. Your grandfather's best finish.
I'd never guess it.
No, it's a short track. Third at Nashville in 1978.
Wow.
Yeah, the fairgrounds. There you go. There you go. Yes.
Bill is on the phone. Bill, welcome to NASCAR America Debrief.
Hey, great job like usual, guys. Really enjoyed the show. Quick question. Give me an idea of what tracks most resemble Chicagoland and the chances of us getting a finish like we did last year.
Slide job part 2. It's going to happen.
Yeah, maybe Chicagoland again. I think, I don't know. It's tough to tell.
Kansas is built to be exactly like
Kansas
it, but
was
it's not.
built that way,
right?
and it's not. It's definitely not. The surface is so much different. It's smoother. Hopefully, it happens at Chicago. I think it's possible. I think it's not going to be that same style. It's going to be a little bit more aggression. Maybe not being able to slide across somebody's nose, but you're going to have to force the issue to make something like that happen now.
Yeah, I think we have the potential to have a 2 or 3 wide finish.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily because of the horsepower and things and how equal a lot of the cars are, but I think that we have the potential of. We saw some great racing at Charlotte, and I think that kind of thing lines up to me for something like that to happen. Trying to say that something's going to happen the way that it did the first time that was so spectacular last year.
Yeah,
but I think that we can have something spectacular again, just maybe a little different form.
That's 1 in 100, right? So help me understand why everybody has a conversation in the first half of the year that the package is better at night. Help me understand why that might be the case. Because I don't know that's necessarily true. I just think we happen to have had good races.
Yeah, it seems like that is what the fans say, and some of the drivers are saying too. I think the only thing I can think is there's more grip on the racetrack, so then we're forcing the issue 3, 4 wide more often and longer into a run. I know it sounds crazy that we've added so much grip to the car, and then when you add grip to the track, why would it get better? But I think it just gives you maybe an extra lane to be able to be, with extra added grip to the racetrack, you might be able to dip your left front tire below the apron and still hang on to your car and not wad up. And so then you're going to be more aggressive taking it 3 or 4 wide. And I think we're still yet to see some of the best day races at 1.5 miles.
Okay.
So people shouldn't be worried forecasting the 90s this weekend for Chicagoland Speedway. I know that has been the discussion. That if the cooler temps provide the opportunities to hold it wide open more often, but if it's in the 90s, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be single file like that.
I think one thing is too, maybe I didn't even think of that until just now, is that with the higher temperatures on the track, the tires are getting hotter quicker, so the whole field falls off quicker, and we stay at a 10-car length pace further back to the field during the day. When it's cooler on the track temperature's cooler, it's night out, the tire temperatures aren't falling off so bad, so the actual differences in the cars show up more. When the tires equalize and fall off at the same pace, it's hard to make a big difference. So maybe that's what we're seeing. I don't know for sure, but maybe that's what it is.
And something else just to think about a little bit is that early in the year when you had these happening, the bigger teams hadn't figured out everything that they needed to know. But as you were pointing out about the wind tunnel time and your team not getting as much wind tunnel time as what some of the bigger teams get and utilize, they're figuring out things that are giving them grip in areas where the smaller teams were able to get grip and make their cars just as fast at night. And so that's why I think that you see, I don't know, it probably did have something to do with the temperatures, but it might be more that now those teams have figured out a way to get grip in the heat of the day. And so that breaks up things a little bit more.
Can you send me a link to the show? I just need to write down all of the Ty Dillon intelligent musings so I can have them for this weekend while we're on the air. I'm going to send a copy to DJ as well once I transcribe everything the young man has said, because everything he's saying is
he's like prepped you for every practice session.
Everything. Yes.
Yeah,
Like,
we're all set.
geez, man.
exactly.
Start coming in and hanging out with Ty for like an hour before every race weekend.
Certainly have given us a lot to look forward to as we come back Sunday on NBCSN at Chicagoland Speedway. Ty, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody, for your questions, your comments, your phone calls, and we'll see you the next time on NASCAR America Debrief.